Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and I am here to do a quick video on this Korbanth OWK, also better known as the Obi-Wan Phantom Menace hilt. This is a Teensysaber budget build that I did for John. John, I hope you like it, and if you do have any questions, issues, or comments, hit me up and let me know. Otherwise, this guy is pretty much ready to go out. What I did here is no crystal chamber, but otherwise fully loaded with all the effects and bells and whistles that you have come to expect. This is a pretty highly polished saber. The finish originally was more along the lines of this matte, kind of satiny matte eggshell finish that the KR Ahsokas have. John wanted it to be polished up, and I totally agree. I think this hilt looks great when it's really shiny. To access and turn it on, unscrew the hilt, slide it off. And this is where you find all the electronics. Main kill switch and recharge port. Little LED indicates it's on, and you get the sound. While we're in here, I did this cutout for you, John. I know you didn't want a crystal chamber, but I did the cutout work just in case later on down the road you wanted to add a crystal chamber to this. This is really the hard part, and the thing that makes it difficult. So you can upgrade this later and add a crystal chamber that would sit right here, that you would twist the rest of the hilt to see. I also did some work down here. This section of the hilt used to go down to here, extended probably another 5/8 of an inch, and it would obviously have covered up the kill switch and the recharge port. I'm not exactly sure. This is a Goth 3 Designs chassis. It's the Paladin Variant 2. I'm not exactly sure how Goth intends this to be installed into this hilt, because his directions are not published yet, but it seemed to me that this was how it was intended to be used, and that most likely this section here is intended to be removed, but there's no other way that I could figure out to accomplish the install without trimming this section, so that's what I did. Polished this area and cleaned up around this indent just so that it's not sharp. It's nice beveled, round, smooth, safe edges. Once you have it turned on, just slide the bottom of the hilt back on, spin it up tight, and this is where, again, you would see the crystal chamber if you decided to go for one via twist and reveal. Right now you have twist reveal for the electronics, which is also cool. Activation, red button here. This is your auxiliary button, the little jewel here. We've got a sound font is Old Ben, one of my favorites, and upgraded with Smoothswing files so that you get the nice Smoothswing effect here. Again, thanks to K Sith for designing the Smoothswing fonts. They're great. You can really just intermingle them with other sound fonts to create really cool stuff. Next up, you have shine through on each of these LED bezels. You'll notice that there are not, in fact, LEDs in there. That's because if you have Neopixel blade, you don't need it. You get great shine through just from the blade, or in this instance from the blade plug. This is a standard stainless steel razor blade type blade plug. Set screw is on the back side. Nice recessed hex head black set screw to kind of camouflage itself into this section of the hilt. And let me show you guys the Neopixel blade plug here. Just loosen up the set screw a couple turns. This is your Neopixel blade plug, so it's basically just a baby blade with a top on it. Got a TCSS connector system going on in here. There we go. And that just slides in there. It's nice and loose. It's a good fit, so you don't have to worry about it getting jammed in there. But I did put a little tiny flathead screw right in the middle, so in case it ever does get jammed in there, you can twig some pliers and pull it out. You get something to pull it by, but it shouldn't be a problem. It's nice and easy slide. To reset the set screw, just kind of hold it in and give it, I don't know, three and a half twists. And it's a good bright blade plug. There it is with green. Actually, this is a green fire blade. Next up, let's put the blade in. See how that goes. Same idea here. Just slide it in and lock it in with the set screw. It's a pretty long blade. I think it's a 34 and a half inch. Might even be 35. You don't have to do it too tight, just enough that it grabs. So this is your green fire blade. It is a 7/8 inch blade, not a 1 inch. With this hilt you get the option of either one. As Korbanth included two different emitter rings. One is 7/8, one is 1 inch, but as you guys probably already know, I prefer to go 7/8. I think they just look a lot better. Let's jump back. Alright, here's the first blade. So you start with a blue flash blade with a white flash to begin, white blaster blocks, white blade clash and blade lock up. Next one is this is called Steel Blue. It's got a yellow blaster block. Then this is either Sky Blue or Dodger Blue. I think that's Royal Blue. Then we go to green. And this is a really heavy, damaged pulsing cyan with yellow audio flicker blade. Next up, another heavy pulsing blue fire blade, green fire blade, red Vader-esque blade with Swarm sound font, one of my absolute favorites. It's a little glitchy, I need to take a look at that font, but next up is a yellow flicker sunlight color blade. It's got a blue flash on clash and lockup. And This is a really heavy damaged flicker, bright yellow blade. This is the blood orange blade with a medium flicker. This is a Blutron blade. Next, obviously the same in green. Red fire blade with also K-Sith's crossguard Smoothswing font. That's a little glitchy too. Next one is Calibrate Rainbow Blade. Strobe. This is Megtooth Sith's. Actually, no, I take that back. This is My Electricity Blade. This is Megtooth Sith's Electricity Blade. This is Megtooth Sith's, I call it Distress Fire, but it is a per pixel flicker blade that basically randomly flickers each pixel, and it's great. It looks a lot like Kylo Ren's blade in the movie. This is the POV, or as I like to call it, the Tiki Torch blade. And then your battery indicator blade. And then back to the beginning with your blue. And that is just about it for this guy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to show off or to tell you guys about. You've got access to USB here, as well as SD. It's just a little bit of dress-up detail I put in there, and then what you can't see is on the flip side here on the chassis you have your battery protection PCB circuit. That's about it. Yeah, that's it for tonight, guys. John, if you have any questions, if you have any tweaks that you want made or whatever else, just let me know. And as soon as I hear back from you, I will get this guy ready to go and get it shipped out for you. I am going to address those two sound fonts that were a little glitchy because it didn't work real well on those blades, on those fonts, and I think it's probably just missing a couple audio files, which can really screw things up. This actually is a pretty decent little teaching moment if you guys ever run into a similar situation and you're using a Teensysaber. Typically when you get sound fonts that glitch like that, what's happening is that the Teensysaber is trying to play a file that isn't there. So let's say you're hitting the off button and it's not turning off, or the blade's turning off but the audio isn't turning off. What's happening most likely is that the power off sound that it's trying to find and play is missing. Let's say the sound font you have has 5 different power off sounds. There's power off, then power off 2, 3, 4. If Teensysaber decides it's going to play power off 3, and then when it goes to play it, the file is missing from the sound font, it's not going to know how to handle that. So what it does is it just kind of ignores the command and continues doing what it was doing before. So if you're turning it off and it ignores the command, then it's not turning itself off, so weird things happen. If you're hitting your auxiliary button and trying to get a blaster block, and it decides it's going to play blaster sound number 2, and that sound file is missing from the font, then it might glitch out and freeze the saber, or it may just not play anything, but you might still get the effect on the blade. So if you see weird stuff like that happening, take a look in your font directory for the sound font that's on the blade you're having problems with, and just make sure all the numbers are right. Make sure you're not missing, blaster block number 2, or power on number 3, or swing number 6. Just keep all your sound font files clean. Make sure you go through anytime you mess with your SD card or anytime you put a new sound font on there. Make sure you go through and just visually check and make sure everything is correctly numbered and that you're not missing anything. It's really easy if you're copying pasting to just miss a file, or your computer maybe cuts in the copy process it misses something, or it gets cut off halfway through and you lose one file. If that happens, all of a sudden your saber can really start behaving crazy and not really like a lot of fun, and just kind of like a terrible, awful built saber. But really, it's just a sound file that's missing. What else? What's coming up next? Next up on my plate, this is Rickard's Graflex 3.0. It is Korbanth's Graflex reveal, so the grip sections are on magnets, and this is basically a display piece, but what Rickard wants me to do is to build a fully functioning lightsaber with a crystal chamber into this hilt so that he can have it on display and remove these pieces so you can see what's going on. It's going to be fun. It's definitely going to be a good challenge. This is what's going on inside there. This whole front end is identical to the standard Korbanth Graflex 2.0 front end. It's just no difference whatsoever. What's different is the bottom half of the hilt. The grip area is totally different. The inner diameter is totally different. You have this middle section here, which is new. And then you have this whole section up top, which also includes this piece, which is basically what you would expect to see for a blade plug on a Graflex. But you get two different versions, so if you want to have this piece attached or not attached, but there's a whole cage structure apparatus up here. This is probably going to have to get sacrificed in order to make this into a functioning lightsaber with a crystal chamber and Neopixels, but maybe not. I'm still looking into seeing if I can work with it. I think it's entirely possible that a battery, an 18650, will fit right inside there. So if I can find the appropriate crystal chamber chassis and setup that I can mate to this top half, then maybe I can keep the entire thing while doing a fully functioning saber. That is coming up. After that, I'm going to be tackling this guy, which is the Crossguard 2.0 from Korbanth. It's a beautiful saber, beautiful hilt. The only thing I would say that surprised me was it's huge. I mean, it's not as big as the Hasbro. It's a lot more accurate than the Hasbro, but it's way bigger than the Crossguard version 1 that Korbanth did, which is, I think, maybe my favorite Kylo saber of all time, because the size was perfect. I mean, it was just totally a perfect size. You could get two hands on it, but really it was good for one, and it was, put these guys side by side. This Kylo hilt is much bigger than this one. The Crossguard version 1 wasn't. It really was in keeping with the size of the other sabers. So if I had to complain about this guy, that would be it. But I also haven't really built it yet, so I can't tell you guys that that's my only real negative. But otherwise, terrific job Korbanth did with this. It's got a fully functioning belt clip built in. These are all different sections of the hilt here. You've got an accurate on and off button that's got that little round greeble thing. The cutout here is accurate, and you get all sorts of little decorative bits and elements to go inside here, and behind there you also get the wire and the little posts to attach the wire. You get the internal components here so that you have this nice look-through window on the bottom of the pommel. This is actually a good little sneak preview for you guys. When this is done, this section here is going to be fully loaded with awesome detail elements, but the cool part is that they're not going to be just detail elements. They're all going to be functional parts of the actual saber itself. So, battery protection circuit, Neopixels, fake stuff, Neopixels again, fake stuff again, Neopixels again. I've got a Bluetooth chip from Red Bear coming in that's going to go on this. So when you look through here, when this is done and you look through here and you see all these different little bits, they're all going to actually be bits of the saber that are actually electronic and actually working. Just like the saber in the movie, because what is the point of having fake electronic details when you have a saber full of electronics? Why don't you put them where they're supposed to be on the saber? At least that's the idea. So that's coming soon. And then this guy has been a lot of fun so far. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is, but I bet you a lot of you guys already know. But let's just say this guy is going to be totally custom. A sneak peek at the battery pack inside there. It's a big one. It's not the double tiny battery setup that you would expect from this guy. But this guy's about halfway done, and when it is finished, I will definitely give you guys a nice video on it. But this is going to be sweet. Okay? That's about all I've got for the night. Thank you guys for watching, and John, hit me up if you have any questions.